Hey, I'm Andrew Myers. Most people around here know me as Drew. Um, I'd say about a few months ago, God kind of really put on my heart after I heard the number of people that are never going to walk into a church that I need to try to figure out a good way to go after these people. And so I've kind of been in the walk with the Lord, and He's put some words on me. And hopefully, over the next couple months, I'm going to be putting out some videos. And I'm going to start with kind of who I am and where I came from and how I got to know the Lord so well. So I am adopted. For those of you who don't know what that means, is I have no idea who my birth parents are. I was given up. I mean, I hate to imagine it, but a lot of times I put an image in my head as where like my parents never held me, and so it's pretty much as soon as I was born, I went into the system. But luckily for me, a loving mom and dad kind of found me, and they adopted me when I was 3 months old, and they kind of got to me, and they were both missionaries when they were younger, and so I always knew who God was. And so my upbringing was kind of centered around the church. It was church on Sundays. We did a lot of things with the church families. But when I started to get older, I kind of started to go on this kind of like, well, both my parents are white and I'm brown. So how is that possible? And I feel like the devil kind of really came at me through my teen years, is like coming at me saying that you're not going to know how you belong unless you do everything you can to fit in. You're never really going to belong, and people are just going to leave you because your parents didn't even want you. And so that kind of led me to do a lot of terrible things in my life, stuff that I'm not proud of, and just trying to fit in where I really didn't really need to fit in, because at the time, I didn't know that God was like, He's my Father. And I mean, I was baptized when I was young, and so I knew who He was, but at the same time, I kind of was drifting away because there's a terror saying that my parents never really loved me, and that's why they gave me up, and they knew that I was a mistake and I wasn't really going to do anything. And this kind of left a hole in my heart, because I was like, how can I serve God when God probably doesn't even want me? Because look at my parents kind of knew, and they just kind of left me. And so moving on, I met my wife in high school in 10th grade, and I was not the easiest guy to get along with, and luckily she kind of led me more in depth with the Lord, because she's really all in at her church, and that kind of helped me out a lot. And so fast forward from that relationship to 2010, we got married, and from that on, life was kind of good. I was not really thinking about God in my life. I was just kind of living day to day, just doing what I wanted to do. And probably pretty much 9 months after we got married, I had my first child, and instantly, like I had two feelings. I had love and hatred, and that's really weird to say when a child's born, because how can you hate a baby infant that it's creation of life, and it's the most wonderful thing. But like as soon as she was born, I got to hold her, and instantly the devil was right there. He hadn't talked to me for 7 years, and he'd just been waiting for the right opportunity to come try to talk down to me. And as I was holding my child and my baby girl, I'll never forget that, just looking at her and just, man, I'm so jealous of her, because she gets to know who her parents are. She's going to get to grow up with both parents in her life. And that kind of just made me just feel so many things, to where the point me and my wife were separated, and didn't really know what was going to come of that. And so kind of looking back on that now, I'm kind of not happy that it happened, but I'm happy that it led me to where I am now, because without that, I would never be who I am today. And so my daughter's born. Me and my wife are fighting a lot. I turned to alcohol to kind of just numb all this pain that I'm feeling in my life. And we get separated. And we're talking and we try to make things work and it doesn't work. And so she finally tells me, hey, I'm moving to South Carolina. And that kind of was like a dagger in my heart, because I was already feeling down on myself. And to hear her say that she was moving away, I was like, man, this is just, nobody wants me. I can't, I don't even know why I tried to be a husband or to be a father, because I know deep down, my parents, man, they knew I was going to be this mistake from the beginning. That's why they left me, because they knew that I was not going to be able to do this and all this other stuff and measure up. And just like that, the devil was always waiting for me to slip up, and he knew exactly how to get into me. And so they moved down, and I'm just kind of doing whatever Drew wants to do. Or let's say Andrew. I feel like Drew is who I've grown into, and Andrew's my past. And so Andrew's doing whatever he wants to do, just drinking, going out, doing the wrong things, and I don't really remember what brought this about, but we obviously stayed in contact with each other because we had a child together, and I just my parents, my mom and dad, I know her mom and dad, they were just like prayer warriors, and so I know that they were praying over us that something would come in and kick my butt. And I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I know that one day I just woke up like, man, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to feel empty and hollow and just like my life doesn't matter anymore. And I got in contact with my wife, and we started kind of working things out. At this point, I'm not going to church. I'm making every excuse to not be at church. If there was an excuse, I used it, and I just kind of lost touch with all the people at my parents' church, and I kind of was just like doing whatever Andrew wanted to do. And so we fast forward, we fix things, we're fixing things, and I make the decision to move down May 2014 to Charleston, South Carolina. At this time, I didn't know, but it's going to be the best decision I ever made. And I'm still not going to church. Church has kind of been a sore spot for me, because I feel like at the time I didn't know the devil was trying to just push me away and say, you don't need church, you don't need God, and just all these other things. And so Megan and her family, they're going to church here at Cathedral Praise, and I've never ever been to a big church. I never belonged to a big church, and I can just remember the first time I came here, just the worship was phenomenal, and I instantly fell in love with all this worship and all this other stuff, and I got involved in the church. I was able to pick up a coaching job at the church for their football team. I got baptized at the church, and just when I think everything's going right and all this other stuff is going on, I lose my job at the church. The devil comes back. He's been waiting. He's just sitting there waiting, and I lose my job at the church, and I turn back to the one thing that I think is gonna just make everything better, and there's that bottle of alcohol just waiting, saying, I know you're feeling a little hole in your heart, and oh man, you see, you can try to run from me, but your parents knew from the get-go that you weren't going to be worth anything. And so I just fall back into his traps, and we kind of get past that. We're going through life. I never leave the church, thank the Lord. My wife becomes pregnant again, and my son is born in July, and this one's a little different for me, because instead of feeling the jealousy and all this, it's really just nothing but love for this child being born, and knowing that he has a sister that's going to love on him no matter what he does. He has parents that are going to love on him no matter what he does. And just a side note, becoming a parent has made me so much closer with God, just because it's all I can give you is an analogy of of how he loves us, and no matter what I do, he's never not gonna love me. And my kids can do some bad things, I pray they don't ever do, but I will never ever lose love for them. And that just shows me how powerful of God we really serve. Just like you can do anything wrong and he's not gonna leave you or forsake you. But getting back, he's born, life's going good, and I can't remember what really happened, but just I started feeling down again. The devil's coming back to try to tell me, you see how you're a father to these kids, you can't really be a father because you never had one. Yours left you. And that's kind of, I feel like the point God kind of stepped in and said, that's okay, let him say what he's going to say because I am your father. And so that was kind of a turning point for me. And then I got involved with the youth group at Cathedral, being a youth leader. And we went to these forward conferences. I was with my kids for the first time. It was phenomenal. I really just prayed over the whole thing saying, God, use me. I don't want anything out of this. Let me just give my kids 110% of everything you're pushing through me. And then I'll never forget it. The last night we're there's this lady named Christine Kane. And like me, she's adopted, and everything she spoke like just stung. And I was like, at that time, I was just like, man, dude, I'm not perfect, but I'm perfect for what God has ready for me and what he's going to use me for. And I kind of feel like that was God saying, hey, do you see what Christine's been through? You guys have a similar story, and I can use you just as much as I can use her, and I want you to know that. And that kind of hit me deep because I was like, okay, God, you can use me. I get what you're saying here. I understand. And so I'm going to do my part. I'm going to go out and pursue you. I'm going to listen. I'm going to start doing devotions. I'm going to start worshiping more. And I just started digging in with him. That following year, I got a steady job. Things are going good. And the day that I will never, ever forget is February 17th is the day that I feel the devil came for me. And he was going to come and try to take my life. I was in a really bad accident. I worked for an armored car company, and we were out for the day. And it's actually kind of funny, the first part of it, because I had actually rear-ended the person in front of me because they were cut off by another car. And so we were inside the vehicle standing up thinking that kind of everything was going to be okay. And within seconds, we were on the ground and I had no idea what was happening, and I literally thought we were going to die. My partner was gasping for air and I thought he was going to die right in front of me. Luckily, we had people close by that were watching the whole thing, and they instantly jumped in to help us out and all this other stuff. And all physics, all scientific facts said I should have been crumpled against a bulletproof windshield and just probably declared dead on scene. But somehow I was pushed straight to the ground. And so that day was, for my life so far, that was probably the lowest of the lows for me, because I was so in with God, and I was praying every day, I was worshiping, I was reading my Bible, and I was kind of like, God, did I do something wrong? Am I being punished by being in this? And it wasn't that at all, because what it really was, I can see that now, is it's a weapon to kind of be like, well, the devil came for me, but I'm still standing and I still know who my God is. And so I take from that, I go to the hospital, I'm sitting in the ER, get all kinds of x-rays done, and it turns out that my knee has fluid on it, and they suggest that I go see an orthopedic doctor, and I'm doing all that. I'm praying that, it's an easy fix. I'm not going to have to get any surgery or anything like that. And so I go get an MRI. I get all these other funky tests done. We're back at the doctor's office, and it's me and my wife, Megan. And the doctor comes in, and me and Megan just been joking. and we're kind of laughing. And he comes in and he says, "It's a pretty reasonable tear. We're gonna have to do surgery." And I can just remember that moment, like feeling so lost and not understanding what was really going on, except for the fact that I was gonna have to get surgery. And I was probably the most scared I'd ever been in my entire life because I'd never had to get surgery before. And so I was kind of upset, and luckily God provided me with Megan to support me through that. And so May, I had surgery. And then about 2 weeks after that, I start physical therapy and going through that. And my physical therapy finally ends in August as my last day. I don't have to see the doctor anymore. And so pretty much from that whole accident, like I understand that there's going to be storms in your life. So I get it. Like there's all kinds of, like, it could just be something like, oh, you got bad grades or something, and that could be the storm you're in, and you just don't know. Or it could be the death of a family member. Like, storms are different for everybody. But I'm here to say that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, the storm is going to end, the sun's going to come up, and God is still going to be God, and He's going to be there through the whole thing. And the way that I see it is storms just add so many weapons to each and every one of your guys' stories that you can just go out there and just have the testimony to be like, yeah, I lived through the storm. I lived going through all of this stuff, and I'm still here, and I'm still a believer, and I never lost faith. And I mean, it's going to be tough sometimes, but I understand sort of why God put me through that now. Like, I'm not the perfect person. I don't want to pretend to be the perfect person. I struggle on a daily basis still, just not as much, but I still struggle with being adopted. It's left a hole in my heart, and I mean, God can fix that, but I feel like He's kind of leaving it there, so it reminds me of who I am, what He's done for me, and where He's gonna keep going with me in this walk. And so I've kind of just wanted to go onto these video series and just kind of dig in deep with Him and kind of share my twists and turns of stories that I feel like He's put in my life, and kind of wants me to share with the world and try to save the people who are not going to be able to make it into church just because their demons are too strong or whatever they've got going on. Because I was that way. I went from making every excuse to not come to church to making any excuse to be at the church. And it didn't have to be Sunday now. Like, I will be at the church Monday through Friday if it helps benefit somebody. Like, I love being here. And it's a family, and it really, sometimes I feel like it gets a bad rep because of some things like that get shown in the media, or that they show that we're all judgmental. And I kind of want to come and say, you know, I'm not on this high horse. I'm not going to judge you. I've gone through so much in my own life that leaves me a place to where I can't judge you. It's just like I can't, and I just want to be there for you. So if you need anything, I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram, I got Twitter. I'd love to hear back from you guys, and hopefully we're gonna keep going with these video series, and I hope you guys enjoy them. Thank you.